Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Enlightened Entrepreneur. Today's interview is one I'm very excited about because I've got a special guest here with us, and we have entitled this interview is How to Get Started with Business Techniques and Strategies with Raquel Stuart. Welcome to the podcast, Raquel.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing real good. And, from our previous conversation, I'm so excited that we can have this time together. And I know the business owners in our audience will love our time here together.
Awesome. Hi, everyone.
Awesome. Now, to get us started, Raquel, we would love to get to know your background, your experience when it comes to business and, what you've accomplished over the years.
Wow.
So to get us started, where have you been?
my background, academics has always been something in the psychology field. I have my PhD in counseling and human services. Never thought about being a business owner until I actually became a business owner. So this was, I call this being a business owner and not having the intention to do so. There are a lot of growing pains.
Right.
I do have my business is, I have one or two. I mean, I'm an author, so I have to market my book, and that in and of itself is a business. My primary business is called Sisters Speak. And it's a transformational movement business, one in which I teach and I don't really teach. I encourage and empower women to live beyond their reasons and justifications. So I don't have a team. It's just me. I recently hired a marketing team to help me out with that, which is so great. It's nice to ask for help. Let me just put that plug out there for business owners. We tend to feel like we want to do it all ourselves. And it's really, really important for us to understand that when you run a business, your business will not grow in isolation. It grows in community, which means you have to ask for help. You have to start talking about your business. In the beginning stages, I wanted to keep my business a secret. Now I'll ask you, how do you think that's going to work out for my business? If I don't tell anybody about it, I don't think I'll be making a killing. I don't think I'll be making anything. So there's some growing pains when you're first starting out. But trust me, the growing pains are worth it. We all have to go through what's called a birthing experience. We're about to give birth to our vision, to our dream. And you've got to learn how to withstand the growing pains, because at the end, it's something beautiful that you're birthing.
Incredible. Now, how did you transition from, being in academics and actually going into running a business? What had to happen before that happened for you?
Wow. It's odd because I'm still in academics. I still teach. It's something that I love to do, but I do it as an adjunct. So it's on a part-time basis. And to transition from academics into business, I had to learn to start talking to business owners. Right. And I knew I did not want to go back to school to study nothing else. I did not want to go back and get a degree, an MBA or any of that. I was done with school. I had my PhD. I was good. To transition now meant I have to have a conversation with people. I had to also get knowledge of the business world and the language and knowing exactly what I wanted to do. Other people have got these amazing businesses but what did Raquel want? What did she want to do? What was her passion? Because when you start a business based on something that you're passionate about, you'll enjoy it and it won't seem like work. So that's what I wanted to know for myself. What is it that I enjoy? And I was like, well, I enjoy talking. I mean, it sounds strange, but I enjoy speaking. I thrive in the community setting. And initially I had my private practice, like most people with a background in psychology will do. They'll have a private practice. And that was my first business. Very, very unsuccessful. I've had maybe one client, and she wasn't very consistent. It was so unsuccessful. And I realized why it was unsuccessful. I thrive. I just said I thrive in community. Now, when you're doing one-on-one counseling, that's pretty much like isolation to me. So I did like a plant and I withered when you don't give it water or sunlight. A plant is going to wither. So I withered because that was not my passion. My passion was not to sit in an office for 6 to 8 hours a day, 3-4 days a week, hearing people's issues. Is that important? Absolutely. People need someone to talk to. That person just didn't have to be me. And I learned that lesson. So I was paying for office space monthly that was hardly being utilized. Now, what was the point? It was,
No.
the first thing I had to realize was I had to get to know me. In a business, you have to know you. That's why I say, what's your passion? Because if you're producing your passion, then it won't seem like work. Now, that was the first stage of transitioning into business. I realized, hey, I need to be in a group setting. So I started hosting different workshops. And I love that. And then I was like, well, now I want to empower women. I'm hearing so many women talk about, oh, I don't have any place to go, no one to talk to, da, da, da. Well, wow, I'm a woman. I kind of know some issues that we have. So let me find out about that. Let me see what I need to know. Who do I need to talk to? So then, the internet is a great thing, and it can also be the devil. Depends on how you use the tool. So I started researching on the internet. Like I found Mary J. Blige. She has a organization in somewhere in New Rochelle or one of those areas, and it's called Fawn. So I started researching, what does she do? What services does she offer? And that's how I started to make the transition. I found people who were doing what I wanted to do, and I wanted to learn what they were doing, where they were successful, and more importantly, where they failed.
Awesome. And one of the things that you currently doing, from our previous conversation, is you are now looking into hosting a TV show, and you're hosting your own podcast, talking to business owner and people who are doing really well. There you are again, operating within your strength, within your passion.
It's funny. The other day, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was invited to be part of Career Day at a university in New York, St. John's University. And it was working with high school students. They pretty much, it was like speed dating. So the professionals sat down and the kids were the ones moving around, which is great because, they're young, they need to do that. And a lot of the kids, when they came to my table, they saw everything that I do. It says author. I'm also a blogger. I blog on Huffington Post. So awesome. I'm author, blogger. They saw the whole list, radio show host, entrepreneur, and they're like, oh my gosh, you do so much. And I said, it seems like a lot when you see it in writing, but it all ties into my passion. My passion is to empower and encourage people to step into their purpose, live beyond their reasons and justifications. And I get to do that in different arenas, which will produce different sources of revenue. It's nice to have a business, but imagine if a major supermarket only sold flour, milk, eggs, and bread. How successful would they be? Your revenue, we have to start getting in the mindset where we're getting revenue from different sources.
Oh, beautiful. Streams of multiple sources. I love the sound of that.
Absolutely.
Now, let's talk about, those early years. Would you say you were faced with major roadblocks, before you
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about those and how you overcame them.
Let me tell you the major roadblock for me, and that was something called fear.
Right.
I've learned that fear, the acronym, if we break it down in those terms, stands for false evidence appearing real. Right. And for me, fear can be very, you can think of it as it's paralyzing. We hear about the fear, flight or fight syndrome in psychology, but fear can paralyze someone so much so that they talk themselves out of doing something. It scares them so much. And my question is, what is it that scared me so much that became a roadblock for me? What was I afraid of? And I was afraid of success, because now what am I going to do? If I do this, I start my business and it works. What does that mean to me? And it's like, okay, so I have a lot of conversations with myself. And in my own head. So I had to have a conversation with myself. And it's so interesting to see the opposing sides and their arguments. But the side that won out was the part that said to me, well, Raquel, is it possible for you to be afraid and still take action in light of your fear? So it's okay to be afraid because this is new territory. But can you take action in light of being afraid? Or are you going to let that fear that's not real, you're going to let that paralyze you? Or can you still take action? And I was like, wow, I can take action and still be afraid. And then that voice said, then go ahead and do that. You're going to have the negative thoughts. We all have negative thoughts. We're human. But what I realize now is these negative thoughts, they're not real. They drain me of my energy and my creativity, and I don't have time for it. I say I don't have the 3 T's. I don't have time, talent, or tolerance for nonsense, for ignorant people, for BS. I do not have the time, talent, or tolerance for it. I have way too much going on. So negative people, because it takes a very talented individual to deal with negative people and people who are all about being a victim. I'm not that talented. God did not equip me with that talent. He said, no, not this one. Somebody else can have that. This one here, no. Another roadblock that I had was financial.
Before we move on to the next roadblock, we may have somebody in our audience today who is really struggling with fear. What would be your words to them? How did you deal with it?
Listen, it's about having a conversation with yourself, knowing what you're afraid of. I got that. Now I know what I'm afraid of. Now what am I going to do? Am I going to stay in this current situation where I am living in fear? And you can do that. We all have choices in life. But think about this. What would your life look like if you took your fear and still walked into your purpose, still walked into achieving your vision? That is an awesome and amazing life, because you have actually looked fear in the face and said, you will not defeat me. And notice when you're talking to fear, you're not talking to anything that's tangible. You're talking to the air. Fear is not tangible.
That's right.
So you've got to take that fear and be willing to still work in light of your fear. You have to get to that point. And it's not a magic trick. I can't teach you tips and techniques. It is about talking to yourself. We can talk ourselves off the ledge, or we can talk ourselves into jumping off. Which one are you going to do?
Absolutely. I choose, to talk to fear and, move on, because that can stop people from living into their dreams, or, to what they're aspiring to have. And think about, what the world will be missing out if you don't fully live what you are, capable of living.
Absolutely.
Just because of fear.
Absolutely. I've heard something. I hear people talk about, this person has a lot of potential and this person has great potential. Potential means absolutely nothing if you're not applying what you have the potential to do. It's in the application. We all have potential inside of us, but if we don't tap into it and exercise that, what does that mean? You'll just be known as the person who has a lot of potential and did nothing with it. And that sounds as mean and harsh as I want it to sound. We don't want to live our life like that. You're better than that. You're an amazing and awesome person who has can-do power in you. Let's see that can-do power. And if you need help, people are always around to help. At the end, I'll give you my email address. You can text me or email me, but just know I'm the type of person I want you to work. If you don't want to work, please don't text me.
I love that. Okay, let's look at the next roadblock that you faced earlier on, which is a financial one.
I ain't got no money. I'll have a student loan. I told y'all I have a PhD. My student loan is some people's salary for the year. But supporting a business can be very expensive. So what I had to learn early on was called, it's something that's old school, but we don't use it anymore. And it's such a great technique. And that's called the barter system. Back in the days, people would use the barter system. So none of us have money, but if I give you this service, you give me a service in return. So in the early stages, I learned how to barter with people. So I can't do this, but, if you do my hair for me, here's what I'll do for you. I will look at your financials. I'll help you create a budget. Okay, beautiful. Great. I get something, you get something. And then we start building. So now guess what? That hairdresser that did my hair for free, or I was able to look at her books and help her do a budget. Now the next time she's got a customer saying, oh my God, I need to learn to budget. Guess what? That's called a referral, because she'll send them over to me and now I can start charging.
Oh, I love that. I love the service exchange. It definitely works
Yes.
for me. Let's explore that a bit. So, suppose somebody wants to get started with that. What are the necessary steps they need to do, and what should they consider before they approach somebody?
Here's the first thing I would suggest you consider. When you are going into what it's called, it's a joint venture. So you're going into a JV, a joint
Right.
venture. The joint venture that you enter into, now notice, I use the example of a hairdresser and somebody doing a budget, somebody in finances. What did the two have to do with anything? I don't know nothing about hair, and she obviously didn't know anything about a budget. So when you enter into a joint venture, it does not have to be with someone that is conducting the same business you are conducting.
Right.
And I'll give you another example that we all can relate to. And I'm not throwing out names just because, but Oprah Winfrey entered into a joint venture with Starbucks. What does she know about making coffee? She may know about drinking it. She don't know nothing. But you know what? The point was to get money. It benefits both parties. But they had nothing in common when you look at it. So consider getting into joint ventures with people who may or may not be in the same business as you are. People you always find people who are willing to help. Okay. And those are the people we're going to focus on. The people that want to help. They're in business. I need my business to grow. Let me help you.
Absolutely.
People always looking for that.
Excellent. Just one thing to throw on there. Where can they find these joint ventures? I was talking to one of the experts on the, earlier on. They mentioned that there are services, especially in the US, SBA,
Yes.
that people can find. People can help them in this area. Do you have any other suggestions other than that?
The SBA is fantastic. Small Business Administration. They usually offer most times, if not all the time, they offer workshops and various workshops on how to file for grants. So you can Google how to get a grant for your business. How do I get people to donate? There's something now called GoFundMe. Everybody is using it for every single thing. You can start a GoFundMe account. Hey, I want to start a business where I help people or vets returning from combat, and I want to provide them with a service animal. You start a GoFundMe account. Don't be ashamed to ask people for help and ask people for money. You
Absolutely.
never know who will see that and pick it up and say, you know what? Let me see if I can help this person. Would $10,000 help? You can either say yes or no. Somebody like me be like, nah, but 20 would, You can hook a sister up with 20,000. That'll definitely help my business. But definitely check out the SBA. And associated with the Small Business Administration is an organization called SCORE. Now, if you score, like you take a score, a test score, a score of a basketball game. So it's called SCORE, SCORE. And SCORE, what they're going to do is teach you how to start a business. Though you've been in business, you may have been in business for a year or two, you're never too old to learn. They'll teach you new things. They'll teach you techniques. They'll hook you up with attorneys that can also answer your question. Another great organization for people who are who are now starting up a business is an organization called WIBO. And it's WIBO, and it stands for Workshops in Business Organization. So awesome. WIBO. And it's I don't remember how long the course was. I took it many years ago. It may be a 10-week course. At the end of it, you graduate. And what your graduation ceremony consists of is not the nice cap and gown, but you have a table that you set up, and people that were invited to your graduation can come and possibly purchase whatever services or products or goods that you were selling. They teach you everything from soup to nuts. So they teach you how to write a business plan, how to price your products, what is considered in your part of your budget, and what's extra. So all of that, they give you things to think about that you never thought about, which is great and what you need as a business owner. You always want to know, dang, I missed something. WIBO is an awesome, awesome organization.
Incredible. Really appreciate all these resources. I'm sure our audience are finding that very, very useful. Now, in your journey as an entrepreneur, where do you see startups making huge mistakes that you think, oh, I don't think I would do that?
Wow, huge mistakes and Where did I make them? I think the biggest mistake I made as an entrepreneur was leaving my 9-to-5 job without having a plan.
Right.
I got frustrated. I was annoyed, and I was like, I'm not staying here anymore because they're not doing anything for me. So I'm leaving. Didn't have a plan or anything to back me up. You've got some savings, but if you're not putting into your savings, eventually it'll dissipate. So
right.
The biggest mistake was not having a plan, but just leaving my 9-to-5 job. That is I don't want to say it was a mistake because it taught me something. So it's not really a mistake. I'm learning a lesson. And that's what I try to do. I try to see the lesson and the positive in a situation that's not very conducive to my well-being. So, but for terms of this, if I have to say mistake, one of them was definitely leaving a job without having a game plan. And the other mistake, because I had a few, but we ain't got that kind of time. The other mistake was thinking I could do it on my own, which I mentioned to you earlier. For me, I was a control freak. So I had to be in control and do everything. And no, I can't ask you for help because I've got all these balls up in the air. And if I ask you for help and you take one, everything's going to collapse on me and I can't possibly have that. That's insane. Okay? Right. That is not going to happen. Asking for help. You can't do it on your own. I don't know one entrepreneur that has done it on their own.
Absolutely. There is a misconception among, people that say, yes, I'm a self-made millionaire. Really?
Right. So the people that you had to call to order your product didn't serve a purpose. Yeah, you're not self-made.
That's right. It's a bad conception, really, because other people outside, they think, oh, it's very, very good. When in reality, there are so many people involved. There's so many moving parts when you're running a business, yes, which requires people. Absolutely. If you were to start over again, Raquel, what would you do more of?
Wow, I wouldn't want to start over. If I had to start over, I'd have a game plan. And for me, my game plan included needing to know who my target audience was. And that is important when you have a business. You've got to start out with, who is my target audience? Who am I trying to reach? Because you can't reach, everybody doesn't need your product, or we think so, but who am I going to start with first? For me personally, my business, I needed to know who was my target audience. So that was I have to have a game plan. Who is my target audience? What am I trying to convey to them? Because you don't always want to come off like a salesman, like you're selling something. What are you going to, how are you as the customer or client or patient, how are you going to benefit from the service that I have? And the other thing I had to, I would do differently is knowing what's my distinguishing feature from the next person who is a life coach. Right. So, and one more thing, I'm sorry, here we go. What I would start over doing differently is absolutely looking for people who we think of them as competition, but they're really not. Right. So in my mind, I needed to stop seeing people as competition and see them as an ally. Right.
Okay, explain a little bit more about that.
Because when you see somebody as competition, you're taking the focus off of what you're doing and you're trying to find the negative or the things that they're doing that are not beneficial, or how their business isn't growing. And that's not what you're looking for. You're looking to see what makes me different from this person and what makes them different from me, and how can we build on that difference? Because in that difference, they're teaching you something that you may never have thought about, and vice versa. So we need to, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we need to stop seeing people who have a similar business to ours, because their business is not the same. You make the difference. But we need to stop seeing people as competition.
That's right.
And see them as somebody who let's see what we can build together. The goal is to engage in joint ventures.
Absolutely. Find something in common that you can work on and complement each other as well.
Absolutely.
You get to do more.
Absolutely.
Mother Teresa put it this way. She said, you are great, I am great, but when we come together, we can do even greater things.
Amen. Because that is so true. And we've got to get out of this mindset. No, this is mine, mine, mine. There is plenty out there for everyone. Stop it, is what I tell people. I'm like, stop it. This person is not your competition. See what they're doing.
Right.
And okay, I never thought of it like that. And I do that all the time with people who are life coaches. I've learned so much just by watching other people, even their failures. Because you want to see the failures, because are they really failures or are they just life lessons? Don't see the failure as a failure. Oh my gosh, no, I can't do this. It's a lesson. What's the lesson that you have to get out of the failure?
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of my mentors put it, says, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. That's John Maxwell.
Exactly. Exactly.
Let's talk about time management, Raquel. You're very good at this. You've got so many things going on for you. You're teaching, you're lecturing, you're running your podcast show, and now you've got the TV show coming on. How do you manage all these activities and still happy? Balancing life.
I cry a lot.
That's a good thing.
Because let me tell you, all that I do, sometimes I feel a little overwhelmed. And then the first thing I have to do is breathe. And then I say, okay, now what is the priority? See, the problem is we think everything is a priority and everything has to be done today, because if I don't get these 50 things off my to-do list, I'm just going to feel like an underachiever. Again, I'm going to tell you, stop it. Everything on that to-do list is not a priority. So we have to start really thinking before we make our list, or we write in our planners or put it in our cell phones to remind us what is a priority. And if it's a priority, now where does it fall on the priority list? Is it at the top? Is it something I have to do early in the day? Or is it something that can wait till a little later?
That's right.
We have to find that time. We have to start getting to the point where we don't make everything a priority. It goes on the schedule, yes, but it doesn't all have to get done today. So what's the priority? If you know you need to meet with a client, that's a priority. That is an income. That's how you make your money. Meeting with the client takes precedence over, oh my gosh, let me just check this and check social media and see what's going on. Social media is great. Do that later, because that can take up so much of your time. So I've learned to not check my emails all throughout the day. Certain times of the day I check my email. I'll check it in the morning, and then I'll check it a little later in the evening. Not after 8 o'clock, I do not check emails. On the weekends, I do not check emails, because I have to have some me time. Though I am an entrepreneur and we work 24 hours a day, Raquel still needs time for Raquel. She has to be able to enjoy some part of her life. Have I taken a vacation lately? Absolutely not. Had no time for vacation, but that's okay. While I'm not taking vacation, I may take a couple of hours and go to the spa to rest and alleviate some of the tension and pressure that I feel. So yes, you have to make the time. You are a priority. So you have to put yourself on your schedule every single day. I don't care if it's an hour, if it's 10 minutes, if it's a half hour. What are you going to do for yourself? Not for your kids or your spouse or whoever else is in your life. What are you doing for you? And that helps me a lot. So yes, periodically during the day, I may stop and play Words with Friends or Candy Crush. And then you have to have the discipline to get back to work.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. You have so much information. I certainly would love to have you again on another episode. And I know our audience would love to have you again.
I would enjoy that tremendously. This was great.
Incredible. But before we go, I really want to know, Raquel, what is it that keeps you going? Running your business and, adding value to other women. What is it that keeps you say, I've got to be up today. I've got to do this.
Mm-hmm. And that's real simple in one word. It's God.
Right.
God gets me up and he keeps me going. He put this passion for empowering and encouraging people to live a life of purpose, step into their power, live beyond reasons and justifications. He put that gift inside of me and that passion inside of me. So even days when I'm tired and I'm just like, okay, I just need a break. I can't, not another step. No, it's like God is like, yes, just this one more step. When I put my faith and trust in God, which I do entirely, it's amazing the doors that open up for me. It's amazing that the energy, you'll find your second wind is what they call it. So God keeps me going, because if I don't consult him on, especially when I'm doing speaking engagements, I have to consult him. I have to say, God, you put the words in my mouth. Don't let Raquel speak to these women. You speak to these women. And let me tell you, he never, ever, ever fails me. I have learned that when God opens the door, I am no longer walking through it. I am running through it, because there is no harm that can come to me. He will not give me more than I can handle. And I absolutely trust him and hold him to his word that he will never leave me nor forsake me. So when I get to that point where I am almost at E, I'm almost on empty, I'm like, God, I need a fresh anointing. I have got to finish this. And he gives it to me. It's just, you gotta listen. If you don't believe in God, I don't know about you, but I love me some God, because he has brought me through some things that I thought in my own human head, I will never make it through this. And that's such a lie. I talk about it in my book, about how I had to rely on God in my darkest hour. I had to rely on him, because your friends are great, but friends are only going to stick around but for so long, and then they're done having this pity party. So it was God that brought me through, and without him, I don't even want to know where I'd be, and it doesn't matter, because I have him in my life, period.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I know this is wonderful, Raquel. You know who you are and where you stand, and where your source of living comes from. I think it's a great place for anyone to be in.
Yes.
Now, Raquel, how can people get to connect with you? Where can they find you, when they want to get in touch with you?
You can find me on several places. I'll give you my email address, and it's Raquel@sisterspeak.com. Now, I'll spell everything out. That's RAQUEL at SISTASSPEAK. Raquel@sisterspeak.com. So that's my email address. I do host a weekly podcast every Wednesday on Blog Talk Radio, and my show is called Bear It All, BARE it all, because that's what we do. You can't come on my show and not be genuine and authentic and transparent to my listening audience. That does not work for me, and it will not work for my audience. So you can find me on Blog Talk Radio. The show is called Bear It All. Another way you can find me, obviously, is on Facebook, facebook.com/Sisters Speak LLC. So you can always find me on Facebook. And I don't know, can I give a plug for my book and where they can find that?
Absolutely, Raquel. So as much as you can, so that you can help our audience.
Oh, absolutely. You guys want to get this book. They have challenges in the book, and it's homework, but I call it challenges. And it's entitled The Audacity of Self, and subtitle is Dare to Put You First. The Audacity of Self is the title of the book. It can be purchased on Amazon.com and BarnesandNobles.com. I am looking to get it in local bookstores here, so that's something else that I'm adding on to my list. But it's so great. I've learned to ask for help, so I just hired a marketing team. So that's their responsibility. I tell them where I want it to be, and they go get it and find out how I can get my book on their shelves. But The Audacity of Self is available for purchase on BarnesandNobles.com and Amazon.com.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much, for that information. I certainly would love to, to have a quick read on this Audacity of Self and find out more, because you've got so much to share. Now, before we end our time together, do you have any final thoughts for our listeners? The floor is yours. You can share whatever you feel would help our audience, those especially who are starting on the journey of entrepreneurship.
Wow, there's so many things, and I will keep it short, because the problem is you never give a speaker the microphone because they don't know how to give it back. But My advice and what's on my heart to say to new entrepreneurs is it easy? No, and it's not supposed to be. Right. This journey is one that will challenge you, but the challenge is going to stretch, grow, and expand your character, expand, stretch, and grow your personality and you as a person. These challenges are giving you testimonies to share with entrepreneurs that are coming in behind you. The right. key thing that makes the difference is we always have to be in action. And when I say in action, does it mean you always have to be physically up doing something? No, if you're sitting down and you are taking notes, you are planning out your day, that's being in action. Imagine this, and I don't know if any of you have ever been to a sporting event, whether it's professional, high school, college, I don't care. If you've been to a sporting event, we as fans tend to we sit in the stands and we yell at the players on the court or the field and we tell them what to do.
Right.
My question is, why are we not being in action? It's so easy for us to tell other people what to do and to tell them how to be in action. We need to practice that for ourselves. We need to get out of the stands. We need to stop yelling and telling people what to do. And we need to get in action. Life is not to be lived on the sidelines. It is a participatory sport, which means you have to get involved. Get involved in your business, in every aspect of your business. I don't care if you have an accountant, you better learn how to add one-on-one because that accountant can stick you in the eye and take your money. You need to learn what you need to learn. Get involved in your business. Make sure it's a business that you are passionate about. That way it doesn't seem like work. You're enjoying what you're doing.
Incredible. Really appreciate that. Those are real words of wisdom there. And I do hope our audience will actually take action, implement all this, because if you don't, business is not going to grow. Nothing changes. That's just the way it is. So Raquel, thanks again for being here with us today. And I hope to have you back on another episode of Enlightened Entrepreneur.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure and good luck. Happy business. Getting together in happy business, but do. That's the key, to do.
Absolutely. And thank you again for joining us all. And I look forward to having another episode with you very, very soon.
Thank you.
With that said, have a great day, everyone.